Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And good news.
What's the good news?
The good news is the media has just discovered Men in Black was diverse and inclusive 30 years ago.
Yes. This was a funny article to me because the whole point of this article is like, oh my gosh, let's talk about how Men in Black takes on unconscious bias and they make it fun and engaging and make it a comedy so it's relatable and people want to watch it. Like all the movies that happened up until 2014.
Yeah, this is, God,
we've been talking about the whole damn time?
Yes, it's so freaking weird, right? All of a sudden, it's like another switch has been flipped. We talked about the switch that was flipped in like 2013, 2014, that all these Tumblr rights came in and acted like everything that was created before current year was problematic. And now some of those people are going back and being like, oh, wait, hey, maybe some of the stuff from the 80s and 90s wasn't so bad.
Well, it's funny because we're talking about, about the most interesting and often overlooked of its achievements and the way it uses endearing combination to put us at ease while tackling the uncomfortable topic of unconscious bias and assumptions we make of other people. Yes, Men in Black did. Let's go on the list of movies that did. There were so many. Rush Hour movies did. Wild Wild West did. 80s shows did.
So many. So many. We're going to talk about that because this
Richard Pryor did.
Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy. So many amazing shows and movies that were made decades ago. I would say are actually more progressive than the stuff being turned out of Hollywood right now, and they were entertaining. So people are, again, you put the pill in the ice cream. People are more inclined to listen or think if they're being entertained and not preached at. And that's the difference. Everybody keeps saying, well, comics have always been political. Star Trek has always been political.
Star Wars was always political.
Yes, but you know what? They didn't hitch upside the head with it. They told an interesting story. They gave you interesting, well thought out characters, and they let you make up your own mind. And sure, there were some, especially with Star Trek, there were some episodes that were a little more ham-fisted than others, but they never led with that.
They never became Doctor Who until recently.
Right. So we're gonna talk about this before we get into it any further. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 256,000 subs. Thank you so much for the support. We do talk about pop culture. We've been talking a lot lately. Well, by lately I mean last like 3 or 4 years about Hollywood and stupidity, and the journalists that write about Hollywood supporting all of these ham-fisted attempps.
Before we do anything else, I want to say too, please make sure you're still subscribed because apparently this is audit month.
Oh yeah.
With YouTube and people get unsubscribed. So I want to make sure you keep checking, not just for our channel, for other channels you're subscribed to, because sometimes you end up getting kicked off the channel because they think you're a bot even when you're not. So please make sure that you're subscribed to your channels that you follow.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, this article you sent over earlier today.
I thought it was hilarious. It was funny to me.
It reminds me of this one from a couple of years ago in the Mary Sue, where they spent all this time complaining about a lack of strong female characters in science fiction, and the author never watched Alien.
No, they're like, everybody should listen to Ripley. There's a reason why when everybody kept this stupid, dumbass narrative, finally we have strong female characters, and everybody kept mentioning Ripley. There's a reason. There was a reason.
Yeah, I mean, this is what is so freaking ridiculous about, current year pop culture and journalism. And, the hot takes is that they discount everything that was, again, made before 2013, 2014. And there's some damn good movies. This is a reason why these movies, withstand the test of time. There's a reason why Will Smith's Men in Black movies are still rewatchable, and everybody forgot there was a fourth Men in Black movie with Tessa Thompson. Nobody gave a shit. I never even got through it.
Oh, it's because of misogyny, don't you know?
It's misogyny.
It's because when they do these movies, and like Men in Black, yeah, it's a good example. They brought it to the forefront. Like they made the joke several times throughout the movie that you just did, you were judging him based on his race or judging other people based on who you thought they were. That was the point. But that's the way it's been in many, many shows and movies for years.
Yeah, and we're used to this. Again, we're 80s, 90s kids. We're used to our entertainment having a message, but it was delivered. I mean, God, we talk about, He-Man and She-Ra on this channel a lot. they had literal PSAs at the end of the cartoons.
Oh, there was a thing I shared today on Twitter. It was like about everything, all lessons I ever learned, I learned from 80s cartoons. It was all done in different fonts from the different 80s cartoons, because they did. They always, like, the more you know, or knowing is half the battle.
They had to. That was actually the law. It's like, yeah, you can put your toy commercial on, but you got to have some sort of educational content. So they would, tack it on. But
that's not true. Acceptance, diversity, all that was just invented in the last few years. And when it comes to She-Ra, it was all invented by Noel Stevenson. Don't you know? And what's funny to me is the people that scream about the most about acceptance and diversity and inclusion are the ones that are the most unaccepting, exclusionary, bigoted people I've ever seen.
Yeah. And I just love it. I love it when they actually get their heads out of their asses and they go back and they watch older entertainment and they're like, oh, well, shit, this was actually pretty progressive for its time.
It's like, look, they're getting this really cool message across, but people loved it because it was entertaining. Maybe Hollywood should do more of that. It's like, you don't say.
You don't say. You don't say.
Are you canceled now for being an istophobe? Because that's what happens to us.
Exactly. This is why old heads like us rail against these journos, because you're just fucking dumb. To be honest, you're just stupid. You are not that familiar with the pop culture you're writing about or talking about, because if you were, you would understand that, the real issue isn't that people have a problem with black people in entertainment or gay people in entertainment or any of this other bullshit, because we literally grew up. Or women in entertainment. We literally grew up with it.
Mm-hmm.
We grew up with it.
What the problem is when you make the whole agenda the focus and not the movie, not the characters. Then people don't want to be part of it. Like the Terminator movie, right? What was the newest one? I don't even remember, because it was whatever. But like that was
where they killed John Connor.
That was the example. It's like, do we mention women? Because women, and the people didn't go see it because we're like, I fucking don't care. Because I'm tired of it. Because I know exactly what I'm going to get when I go see this movie. And you know what? Who also didn't go see the movie? Women.
Yeah. Just knock this shit off. And I do blame the media more than Hollywood definitely, but they seem to be listening to these very loud voices.
Yeah, what it was these people that were on Tumblr got themselves jobs working for these pop culture blogs, and now they got this seat that they think is their personal soapbox that they had done nothing to earn or deserve or build, and now they're making it their mission to get them and their friends in these places to tell everybody else, preach to everybody else how to be. And it didn't go the way they wanted it to. So when it didn't, they started istophobiaing people. And it didn't work to Hollywood's benefit like Hollywood thought it was. That's why you saw them coming out against them with the Joker and different things like that. And Hollywood's best thing they can do is just not list these people anymore. They are not indicative or representative of the public at large.
Yeah, well, it's starting, and we'll get into the article here a little bit more, but I've been saying for months now, and people get tired of me saying it, I'm sure, but the pendulum is definitely swinging, because now the cancel culture mobs are turning on the very studios and companies that have spent so many years catering.
And how much money.
Yeah, look at Kickstarter. Kickstarter is verboten now by indie comic book creators. Look at what happened with Critical Role yesterday. Kotaku writes a hit piece. They're not diverse enough. They had freaking sensitivity readers come in and all this other shit, and it's still not good enough for Twitter.
Because you didn't include one person somewhere.
Right.
I'm still mad because, there's not a special character who's exactly like me in every way. And not everybody's represented in every character ever. So until every person's represented ever, it should be stopped.
Then go make characters like yourself.
I thought this was funny. When it's really at its best, this is the movie's special sauce, right? This is what makes the movie special. A genre-defying mix of comedy, action, sci-fi, and pointed social commentary. How many movies off the top of your head can you rattle off that fit every one of those things?
So many.
Actually,
the first one that if you told me that, I would think RoboCop. RoboCop was very satirical, very political, but it was done in such a way that it wasn't ham-fisted. It was clearly satire, and it was over-the-top satire, but you would walk away from that movie thinking, like, huh.
Well, speaking of satire and movies, what gets me is every year we progress as a society, we get closer and closer to Demolition Man.
I know, right?
It's a little scary because it was like, wow, that's insane. Wow, oh my gosh, that's nuts. It never end up like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, if you're talking movies that predicted the future, Demolition Man is not the one that you'd think it was going to be it.
The 80s and 90s were all about pushing boundaries and yeah, also diversity and inclusion and telling different kinds of stories, different kinds of people. So many first then, and you look at, even the most popular television shows, since we're talking about Will Smith, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was one of the most popular shows on TV. It was one of the most popular shows of the 90s. And before that, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it, but The Cosby Show was one of the most popular. And everybody watched The Cosby Show and Fresh Prince. Pretty much everybody. Except for my grandfather who just liked Nashville Now. But that's a whole nother...
Yeah. But yeah. But Carlton, they made fun of him. They were trying to cancel Carlton lately because he's too white. That was the joke.
That was the joke. Like, you don't get the joke. The joke was Carlton was too white because he was raised in an affluent white neighborhood. And that was the joke.
That was literally the joke.
It was also social commentary because what defined, like, what he didn't act black enough. And he got a lot of backlash for that because people are like, one, they're conflating him with the actor, Alfonso Ribeiro, with his character. And I guess he married a white woman. I don't know. But
you talk about stereotyping and how bad stereotyping is. And then they're mad because the character didn't act like the stereotypical character they thought it should act. And now they're canceling him because he didn't act like the stereotypical black person they thought he should act.
Have they canceled Urkel yet? Have they canceled Urkel?
No. Well, who knows? Probably.
Oh my God, I love that SNL
That's Saturday Night Live skit. Oh my God, that was the best. But yeah, it's just like the irony is what they get mad and cancel it over is the stereotyping that they complained about.
Oh my God, one of the most interesting and often overlooked of Men in Black's achievements is the way it uses this endearing combination to put us at ease while tackling the uncomfortable topic of unconscious bias and the assumptions we make about other people.
That's what I read earlier. Yes.
I'm floored because this is a duh.
Yeah, I know exactly. This is what we've been saying. The stuff that they get mad about, like, you're just a bunch of boomers and how dare you? And now they're like saying, oh my God, guys, have you watched Men in Black? It's brilliant because it uses comedy to address social issues. What a concept that has been around for decades before they decided that it didn't exist a few years ago.
Yeah, what are we talking? 25 years. 25 years.
I'm just like, this has been going on for years. Where have you been?
They're talking about the scene with the immigrants.
I weren't born yet.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think a lot of it is. Or they're too young to remember. From the get-go, Men in Black wants you to know the way you may have been taught to classify people isn't going to work here. No shit. Same with Fresh Prince. Same with Cosby Show. Same with freaking Beverly Hillbillies. I mean, come on. Come on. This is nothing new. You guys, Tumblr, you did not invent subversion and diversity and inclusion.
I guess when you have a subversive movie with diversity and inclusion that's funny and entertaining and people actually want to watch it, is a new concept to some of these people. Given the last few years, what all we're getting. When this is a refreshing idea, what does that tell you?
Oh my God, they're like, oh my God, it's brilliant that Jay shot the little white schoolgirl in the forehead, which we were watching it. It was on TNT or something a couple of weeks ago, and I was watching. I'm like, would that even fly now? Because I was thinking so much of the humor. I mean, they're
they make jokes all the time.
So much of the humor in that movie would not fly now, but also him shooting a little schoolgirl in the head.
Well, no, it wouldn't because of the things that have happened, with guns and stuff like that.
Right.
But it was funny. Like if you watch the Wild West movie, when they're fighting each other, I'm not going to repeat some of the things they slam back and forth with.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, they would not be allowed to say that now, and on both sides, and it was funny as hell. Because it was self-aware. Because a lot of these movies and stuff, they're clever because they're self-aware. And they're trying to teach a lesson, but in a fun, well thought out way that people enjoy to watch again and again and again and again and again. The way they're doing things now is they're going to hit you over the head with it. And then when you get up, they're going to hit you again. And then when you get up again, they're going to kick you a few times. And then tell you if you don't like it, it's because you're a terrible person.
God, I love this. It's unusual for a summer blockbuster to try and challenge the way an audience thinks in such a fundamental way.
It was not unusual at all.
It wasn't.
No.
Go back and watch some 80s and 90s movies. Please. Because you haven't watched enough of them if you think this is an unusual... I mean, maybe you've been watching a lot of brainless crap that's been coming out of Hollywood lately, but...
Oh, you can even get into 2000s, early 2000s. And it wasn't until like mid 2000 teens that there was a shift, that this whole idea that, it started happening. It was going on for years that they were doing this.
I mean, look, the author's intention might be to point out that, yeah, this has been done in decades past. That might be the intention. But the thing
in a way that you don't get it.
Yeah, but we're seeing a lot of articles like this. Like, we're going to complain about Star Wars fans. We're going to complain about comic book fans. We're going to say like, oh, you're just so angry that your all white, all male superhero team is finally getting some black female representation. And I'm like, bitch, please. When I started reading Marvel Comics, Monica Rambeau was leading the Avengers and Storm was leading the X-Men at the same time.
I know, right? It just blows my mind, because it was like, it got to a point where, and where it should have gotten to, when you watch these movies and these shows, and there was all this representation across the board, you didn't think anything of it. Like, back in the early 2000s, they had all the shows like, Will and Grace and stuff like that, and there was representation of whether it was accurate or not, you could argue, but there's representation, for not being straight and stuff like that. Nobody thought anything of it. It just became accepted. And that's what you think you'd want to get to a point where it's just like, okay, I'm not even noticing that character's black and white or straight or gay or whatever. It's just a good character that I like and I relate to. And that's where it needed to stay. And they have completely undid it. And now they're going to try to go back to that and say they invented it.
I said before, like, when I was growing up, I used to watch a lot of TBS, like when it first came out. And they used to have a block. They had like the Jeffersons and What's Happening and Good Times. I used to watch all those shows. And it's funny because I never, sat there thinking, little white kid, like, these are black shows. I shouldn't be watching these because I freaking loved What's Happening.
Right. You wouldn't think that. You were just like, this is a good show. You didn't think you didn't stop and think, oh, yeah, race.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, we all watched The Cosby Show. We all watched Fresh Prince. It never dawned on. It's not until recently that when you've got people like this, they're so hyper obsessed with. I mean, I'm like on the other side of it. Do you have non-white folks look at shows and be like, I can't watch that. That's a white show. That's
probably
not for me.
The way it's been anymore.
I mean, you could look at a show and be like, yeah, I'm not into this.
It looks like lame and stupid.
It looks lame and stupid.
But, everybody watched these shows. I mean, there was a lot less choices back then, too. But that's why it was pop culture, because everybody liked the same shows. And when we were kids, it was like encouraged that everybody gets along and that everybody watches it and you're friends with whomever. I mean, we grew up being friends with whoever we wanted to be friends with. It didn't matter what race, gender, sexual orientation you were. We're still like that.
Listen to the fucking Care Bears.
That's right.
Get along. And the Get Along Gang.
Get Along Gang. There you go.
I mean, look, for all this, like, group hug, like, they're like, oh my God, the A's were so toxic. It's all Transformers and G.I. Joe and rah, Muscle Man. It's like, no, we had the Get Along Gang. We had the Cabbage Patch Kids. We had the Care Bears. We had My Little Pony. And they fought Satan.
But I mean, the whole idea of acceptance, that was, when we talk about the PSAs at the end, half the time it was about accepting other people, accepting yourself, being kind, understand people are different than you, and that's okay. You can be different and you can still be friends. That's how, when you wonder why people like us get so pissed off about the way they, bring these 80s shows back to life and then make them the way they do and make them so agenda-driven bullshit extremism, is because when we were kids, you were meant to accept everyone and you were taught to accept everyone. But with the new shows, the message is, we're saying one acceptance, but we mean you're supposed to accept us and we're going to take over everything, and you have to understand that we're above you. And that's the difference.
Yeah, it's like learn your history, right? You journos that are out there writing hit pieces on established fandoms. You just floated into the fan base a couple of years ago with whatever the newest incarnation is. I mean, we see this a lot. We did the video about Critical Role. See it a lot with D&D. People that came in with 5e, they have no familiarity with D&D beyond that because that's all they've known. So now they're going back to the old stuff like, oh my God, this is so misogynistic. Look at all these white nerds that are just doing their misogynistic stuff.
You know what's funny to me? Like that one woman having the history about Critical Role. What's funny to me is you hear these things like there's not enough, Asian people or whatever in these shows. Now in their case, it was like, North Africa and all that, but like the other groups that the different areas of the world. But when you go to those areas in the world and you watch their shows, because I do watch a lot of shows with other countries, guess how many white people are in those shows? Hardly any, because it's all representative of them. Why would they they aren't putting other people in it. And the one from America is yelling, how dare you not, I'm not in that K-drama. I don't see my representation.
I think the movie that really did it for me that this was getting ridiculous was Wonder Woman. the narrative around Wonder Woman, because they were like, finally, there's a superhero show with a female protagonist. There's a superhero.
I know.
Like, I'm like, bitch, we were watching Wonder Woman. We all were watching Wonder Woman in the 70s and early 80s. Like,
that's where I got my obsession with Wonder Woman underoos from.
Yeah.
I had them as a child. I have them now as an adult.
I had a Wonder Woman action. I had the superpower figures. I still remember who I had. I had Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Red Tornado for some reason. I didn't even really know who he was back then. Aquaman, Robin. I think that was
no, but I see the list is all men.
Yeah, except for Wonder Woman. But you know who I wanted the most, and I could never find him in stores? Cyborg. Because he was on the cartoon, and he was shiny.
Oh, that makes sense, because all shiny
He was vacuum metallicized, but you can never, like, those second series figures were so damn hard to find.
But, like, there's been female superhero characters and leading in movies and stuff for quite a while.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. I mean, and I keep doing this narrative, and I'm so tired of it. I think it's just funny, though, because now I got this article that's taking a movie from years ago, and they're acting like, oh my God, look, now this is how it should have been done, and how it was done right. And we've been saying the exact same damn thing, and we get so much shit. If nothing else proves a pendulum swinging, I think this kind of stuff does.
Yeah, it is, because we're starting to see a lot of these media outlets, either, they put these hot takes out there, they go too far, and they piss off the fans, or they're reining it in, or they're walking it back, and I'm so angry when I start seeing these articles that are basically saying everything that YouTubers have been saying for the last 3 or 4 years now.
And so much shit. We get so much shit over it. You've no idea.
Like, you get canceled. You get canceled over it, and then all of a sudden, like 3 or 4 years later, they're like, well, maybe fans were right to be a little disappointed in how Luke Skywalker was handled.
No, they don't say that. They won't say it that way. They'll say, Luke Skywalker was mishandled, and here's why. And they won't mention the other fans. Or they'll find some way to still slap them down.
Yeah, right? It's like, and we've seen it with the, He-Man situation, and then it's like, all that, and it's like, it's bullshit. You guys can't admit when you're wrong. You've spent the last 4 or 5 years, going to war with...
More now.
Yeah, more now, going to war, especially with YouTubers, and trying to smack them down, because I think you viewed them as competition, and now...
Can't beat them, join them?
Yeah, now they're like, oh shit, the ad revenue's drying up, and the audience is leaving.
The proof is in the pudding. When they do these films, they don't do well. They underperform, and now the Hollywood's having to make changes because it's not working.
Yeah, okay, so now, we get Ghostbusters Afterlife, which deletes Ghostbusters 2016. The biggest movie of the last, I don't know how many years, is Spider-Man No Way Home, which is the biggest fan wank film ever made, but in the best possible way.
Usually that's a bad thing, but this time it's a great thing.
Like, it's almost like, I was thinking about that earlier today with Spider-Man. Like, it's almost like they had a list of things. Like, what can we do? We can bring, all the Spider-Man. Okay, cool. And we can redeem Electro. We can make Electro different because people had complaints about that. And we can do this and we can do that. And we can make Peter Parker make his own costume. And
they kind of, with the Force Awakens too, but the difference was, they made a new story for the Spider-Man thing. Yeah. They just redid A New Hope all over again for The Force Awakens. It felt like it was by committee too, but it felt like it was by committee in a bad way. Yeah. Where Spider-Man felt like it was by committee but in a good way. And the thing is, it was like Spider-Man 2. It was also funny to me that, they advertised it. Yeah, sure. But the reason it brought all the people, because word of mouth. Like, as soon as the word of mouth got out how good it was, then it was just like, it just boom, it took off like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, guys. I think we're gonna see more of this. I think we're gonna see more shocked journos, at least the ones who want to keep their jobs. Because those jobs are gonna get fewer and further between. They're gonna have to stay on the good side of the fans. But
I just think it's funny. It's like, oh my God, I'm gonna say exactly what the YouTuber's been saying the whole time, but it's okay when I say it.
Oh my God, RoboCop was biting political commentary. Oh my God, black people. Did you know they had black people in movies before 2015?
Did you know they had people that weren't straight in movies and shows before 2015 as well?
Oh my God. Who knew? I mean, wow, we got to tell the world.
They had strong female leads.
Oh my God.
Before 2014. Before the Ghostbusters 2016, they had strong female leads.
We need to scream from the rooftops, because I don't think those alt-right Yahtzees know anything about this.
No, I don't think anybody knows anything about this. I better go write whole articles on it.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, we're gonna wrap this up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.